Iraq and Afghanistan is a front of a much bigger picture. We're dealing with people who have no regard for the sanctity of human life, that want to bring Western civilization to its knees. We're number one on the agenda. They will do whatever they can to wreak havoc and destruction on a major American city. They're trying to get their hands on weapons of mass destruction. We need, as the world watches on, to see whether or not we're weak or divided, or whether or not we're strong and united. We need to send a message to everybody concerned that we will stand together and we'll do whatever is necessary in terms of determination and commitment and in terms of dollars when it comes down to it, to make sure that we don't send too few people to do too much of a job around the world, that we don't have dilapidated equipment, that we're not stretched too thin, that we don't have insufficient intelligence capabilities so that we don't really know what's going on around the world. We have to make that commitment, and it's a commitment of the American people. Historians will tell you that in times of conflict, the determination of a people and the will of a people is at least as important as their military might. We have to operate on that basis and do what's necessary. Secondly, how do you apply the rule of law today? What's the first thing that comes to mind? I think you apply it by saying that we've got to secure the border and enforce the law in terms of illegal immigration in this country. A nation that does not secure its own border will not forever remain a sovereign nation. There are a lot of issues connected with this. A lot of it has to do with fairness to people who have come here and played by the rules and become good citizens. To see other people be brought in and given advanced status over them, it's unfair. More important than that and more basic is a national security problem. We live in an era now of unsecure borders. We live in an era now where a grapefruit size of the wrong kind of material in the wrong kind of hands with a sufficient expertise can destroy an American city. We cannot have open borders under those circumstances, and we have to make a commitment to do something about it. I put out a plan that says basically let's secure the borders and let's quit having these sanctuary cities and other inducements to induce people to come in as we're trying to keep illegal people from coming out. I think it also means, this day and age, that we need to recognize that the second most important job that the President of the United States has to do, past national security, is to appoint judges, nominate judges to the Supreme Court who will follow the law and the Constitution and not make it up as it goes along. Judges are setting more and more social policy in this country. It boggles the mind to think that our founding fathers would set up the government so carefully with an executive branch and a legislative branch and a judicial branch and balance it all out in terms of powers and then say, oh, by the way, at the end of the day, the judicial branch of government gets to decide our social policy. And then they come back to the rest of it and say, okay, some judge has decided this, or 5 judges have decided this, and now it's up to the rest of the nation to pass a constitutional amendment to overturn what this handful of unelected judges did. 2/3 of the Congress and 3/4 of the people in the states. Now that's over maybe 50 years if you work hard at it. It's all turned on its head. It's all wrong. And we have to get back to a little bit of modesty among our judicial branch, unelected officials. I would also say that conservative principles today means that we've got to stop bankrupting the next generation. We're doing all right now economically, and we're going to be okay. Even if running the deficits that we're running right now, they're within the historical average. They're not that far out of place. But we know now we're locked into a pattern of mandatory spending, with the demographics being what they are in this society, that we are going to be spending the seed corn of other people, that we're going to be spending the money of our grandkids and those yet to be born. We're better than that. We got to stop doing that. Now, there are very few people that have an opportunity really to put these principles into action and to do something about it. In 1994, I and some people like me decided that we were going to try to do something about it. And we went to the American people with some of these ideas. I went to my state of Tennessee with some of these ideas. We started 20 points down against a popular incumbent. On election day, we were 20 points ahead. And as it turned out, the American people were receptive to these ideas. They believed in these basic principles. And we were able to go to Washington, and in short order, we passed 4 major tax cuts. We balanced the budget 4 times. Seems like it's something far distant nowadays. We passed welfare reform, something that people have been trying to do for 20 years and hadn't been able to do. We worked hard for the right kind of judges, made a little progress there, started the remodernization of our military, laid the groundwork. When we stuck to our principles and what we believed in, receptive audience in the American people. So I think that's kind of where we are again today. I don't think the American people have changed their mind about what they believe and what they think about those principles. We need to make sure the American people understand that we haven't changed our mind either. When we've applied them, we've been successful politically, whether you're talking about the 80s, whether you're talking about the 90s, and when we haven't, we've been unsuccessful. But if we do what is right, we will be able to fulfill that commitment. We'll be able to leave this place better than when we found it. It's our obligation to understand the greatness of America's past, what we need to do today in order to keep it, and the greatness of America's future if we do that and we all work together. That's what I'm about. That's what this campaign is about. And that's why I appreciate your audience here today. And thank you very much for your hospitality. Thank you. All right, let's talk about what you want to talk about today.
What would be your plan as to moving that cost down to where we could afford health care?
I think that first you got to ask yourself why the cost is going up the way it is. I think there are a couple of major reasons for that. A lot of medical advances